We need to be cognizant of the era in which we're living. People don't know this. You find a lot of resistant women. And that is because you're either dealing with a woman who doesn't realize how she's shooting herself in the foot, and she will eventually realize it, or you're dealing with a child woman. That's what I say. So when you're dealing with a child woman, that's a woman who is inexperienced with life, and she's fallen into the narrative that is out there that tells all of us, tells both men and women, that a woman should be assertive and even with her man, otherwise she will be taken advantage of. But here is the thing. A woman who is dealing with a man and she is being assertive over him and he's falling under her, none of them are going to enjoy that relationship. She's going to get frustrated because she cannot look upon him as a man. She can't look up to him. And the man is going to be frustrated because he's going to have an unwilling partner and they'll keep on being at loggerheads. So nobody's going to enjoy that relationship. And that woman actually knows that she's not happy with this man because he's not being a man. So how does this man get this woman's respect when she continues to assert herself? So it tells you right there that there is no way a person will assert themselves over you unless you have taken a submissive position. But at the same time, we don't want men who are bullies. I don't want a man who is a bully. I cannot deal with men who cannot assert themselves, and yet I cannot deal with men who are bullies. So what it tells you is that there's got to be a middle ground where a man is being a man without being a bully. Because if you have to be a bully, there is no way that a woman is going to enjoy that relationship either. So you're having a master-servant relationship, which doesn't work for anyone. And that is what a lot of people think that they need to settle for. People think that they either need to settle for something more like a master-servant relationship, where one person is the master in the relationship. It doesn't have to be that way. The thing is, we're adopting a lazy approach and hoping that things will work simply because we don't want to take the time to think things through. But people that have understood that there is a science, there's a method to the madness, have now started to use those things and are getting successful results in their relationships. And that's why I'm doing this. I hate seeing couples where I can see the unhealthy dynamics. And those people are going to go on to influence younger people who see them. And my own children are going to go out in the world and they're going to meet these people. In fact, I will be meeting them every day. When I go to work, when I'm doing businesses, when I'm networking with people. And this is just ugly. We have to be aware of what's happening in the world around us. The world pushes out narratives with everything, with movies, with the things on the news, with the things in our environment. And if we're not careful and if we don't think through these things by ourselves, we'll adopt the messages that are sent to us and we will not have the happy results that we should have. And that's why we are where we are in the world today. I said that many men are treating relationships from a position that should be and than what is good for relationships. And that's because everyone wants to show up as one who is in tune with the modern way of life. And the modern way of life encourages us to think about equality in relationships. And that is very good. However, it's not to the point where we know that a woman can do everything a man can do at work, business, career-wise, and all that. But when we're talking about relationships, there is equality, but it's a type of equality where there is a head and there is a neck. And the head cannot turn unless it uses the neck. And that is where we have the man as the head and the woman as the neck, which means that your leadership is not a leadership without that person who you are leading also cooperating with you. And that's why we cannot have somebody who is not assertive as a man. And that's why we cannot have someone who is a bully as a man. Because any way you do it, this person needs to cooperate with you. So you need someone who's going to be cooperating with you. And that's where the partnership comes in. So even when you have a partnership, somebody still needs to steer the wheel. Someone still needs to be the captain of the ship. And here we believe that the man is the captain of the ship for it to be able to steer it well to get to its destination. So first and foremost, a man needs to have that in his mind when he's going into a relationship. If you don't have that, you see, that's why we have the unhappy relationships that we have, right? Because you have a woman who isn't satisfied because she can't trust the man, she can't trust his leadership. And if he decides to now ensure that his leadership is noted by being a bully, she still cannot follow his leadership. So he's going to be frustrated and he's going to be now looking outside. So none of these people can be satisfied. So it requires us to settle down and think. The question is, how are people to go about this? Where do they do it right? How can they do it right? And where do they draw the line? And what must be in place for it to work to our benefit? So first, it starts with a man developing confidence in himself. So we just want you to have self-confidence. When you have self-confidence, you will now show up in the right way. It does not have anything to do with the person you're dealing with. It's all about you. Everything that we want, all the results that we want in all our relationships with other people can never be achieved with us expecting a change from the other person without first reflecting upon our own selves and taking the log out of our eyes. We are the ones in control of ourselves. We're not in control of another person. So if I change myself, I will get the person that I'm relating with to change. We can't overemphasize that. And if you're needing someone to change and you're unable to change yourself, then you need to stop the expectation, because what you cannot do, you can't expect from someone else. So let's get that straight. So go to episode 4 and make sure that you watch it, about how a man develops self-confidence in himself, so that this way he's not relying on what whoever he's dealing with is thinking. All that confidence is coming from his own mindset, and he can do it by himself. It's all between himself and the creator. Is understanding psychology. We must understand psychology. So these are not things that we take for granted. If you think that you can just show up anyhow, it's going to work. No, that's why a lot of people go and settle for someone that they can bully, but still they can't enjoy that person, because now you're seeing her as someone who is not smart, who is not intelligent, and you can't trust her either, because you feel like the way that you can bully her and get her to do things is the way that someone else outside, other people outside, are going to see her and be able to take advantage of her and tell her things that she can't question. So you go and think that you want someone who doesn't question things, but when you get that person, you find out that now you're holding that person in disdain. You don't like that person. Every time that you think you're going to take a shortcut, you're only going to get yourself unhappy. It doesn't work. Now things are different. People are considering love and companionship and their own preferences. People now know that they have their own rights and that they want their preferences and their needs to be met. And those things are valid. And those are the relationships that we're cultivating today. And if we don't take into consideration each person's needs and preferences, we get in there and we're frustrated. And that's the reason why we have all these relationship problems. We are really in a different era. And so we need to take these things into consideration. Things aren't like before, where it didn't matter because certain things were already sure. Things like the woman will be dependent on the man because she wasn't working. Or if she was working, it was just something very little. And even people will send the male to get an education, but the women were not sent to school. But now women have become empowered. And so things have really changed, and we have to move with the times. We have to adopt the changes in the time. Now we are more of equal people, and we know everybody has their rights. Even children have their rights, and those rights have to be taken into consideration in all our decision making. And that affects couples. So we need to be cognizant of the era in which we're living. So the reason why Will is not in control of this relationship is because the thing is, if he had understood psychology, he would have known not to have married or even to continue to pursue a woman who had already declared that someone else was what she preferred. And that's what it looks like to us. This is going by what we've heard, because I don't know whether that's a true story or not. The problem is that a lot of people think that because they've heard, a lot of men have heard that you continue to pursue a woman even when she's not interested. That is very wrong. That's very wrong. You continue to pursue a woman even when she's acting like she's not interested, only if you have verified that she is that type of woman who is doing that simply because she does want this relationship, but she's just playing hard to get. If you don't verify that this is her reason, it's very possible, very easily possible that she does not want that relationship. And that is because she has considered everything about it and she believes that this isn't for her. And the thing about us human beings is that we already have a life before we meet someone. So if someone is already sure that what I want is not in alignment with what this relationship is going to be, do we realize that if we continue to pursue this relationship with this woman and she gives in, what we're going to get is someone who has given in for other reasons, like I said in other episodes, given in because maybe time has passed by, maybe she's not able to get what she wanted. And so this is not what she wants, but she's just settling. When you get someone who's just settling, they're not going to go into that relationship to work with you. They're just taking it because they don't have a choice now, or maybe out of pity for you. And so that's why you're going to have to be careful to not take those things that you hear out there. You have to watch each person, each individual, watch yourself and watch what's happening with that person. Also, people think that my love, my strong love and dedication, my generosity, my kindness and patience, or giving ultimatums will change a person. That will never happen. So people think all these and then they go ahead and get married. And do you know what giving ultimatums and warnings will do when a man gives them to a woman who isn't happy to be with him? She will not care. And that's why you will give the ultimatum this time, give it next time, give it 10 times, and she will continue to do what she's doing. Because if she really wanted to be there, she would be worried about the consequences of her not changing whatever it is that you're complaining about. That's one. And secondly, she's also seeing that you are not going to do anything about it. And that is why you must do something about it when you've communicated that you're not happy with what's happening. If you don't do anything about it, that is you showing weakness. And it's not just women who don't tolerate weakness. Even children do not tolerate weakness. Children do not work well. Nobody works well with weakness. If you go in the office and you have a manager or a supervisor who says, if you don't do this, this is going to happen, and they notice that there are no repercussions for anything that happens, nobody's going to take that person serious. So we have to take our relationships like we're managing a department or a company or a business. It's a product. If this and this are not in place, this is going to happen. This will be the repercussion. And we can't let those things continue. And that's how we lose control of a relationship. Now, what happens when you've gone and you have kind of begged this person to be in this relationship with you? You don't have the guts and you don't have the will to make them do what you need to be done, or to give them the repercussions for not going according to what we have planned, which we know is the right thing for us to do. You don't have the guts because you're afraid and you are walking on eggshells because you don't want to make them remember that they really didn't want to be here. And that's why you lower your voice, you shrink yourself. You can't make things happen here because you don't want to lose that person. That's why it doesn't make sense and it doesn't work for us to cajole someone into a relationship, because once we've done that, we've given away our strength. And that's why everybody has to be there fully and wholly, like an equal partner, not someone who begged the other person to come in, because they will always have you wrapped around their finger to do whatever they want with you. Your voice will not be heard. You will have to be shrinking yourself. So throw away those ideas that tell you that you should keep on chasing someone who has shown that they're not interested in taking this journey with you. Don't do that. You're going to get someone who is going to be working against you.